Welcome to This Explainer. Picture this. It's 1997, and a young Nigerian filmmaker named Ike Nanabu takes a massive, literal plunge into the unknown. Today, we're diving into an incredible dual timeline narrative. He's actually retracing his 26-year-old coming-of-age journey, and we're going to look at his 1990s migration right alongside the stark, modern realities of West African youth doing the exact same thing today. By putting these two timelines side by side, we get a completely fascinating, multi-layered look at the challenges, the hopes, and, the incredibly difficult choices that drive people to physically cross a continent. And just look at this quote. It's just 7 days from Lagos to Europe, they say. This was the tantalizing and, frankly, entirely dubious rumor floating around Nigerian beer parlors back in the 90s. I mean, imagine being 26 years old, armed with basically nothing but an atlas, a few $100, and a backpack full of dreams, and you're hearing that Europe is just a quick 7-day trip away. Wild, right? But it's that exact myth that fueled Ike and his friends to just pack up and go. So let's get right into it with Section 1, the plunge into the unknown. Let's look at how this journey actually started. The intended geographical scale of this trip was just massive. We're talking Lagos to Benin, Togo, Burkina Faso, Mali, Mauritania, and finally Morocco, all supposedly happening in just 7 days. But this myth, it completely ignores the waiting. The days, sometimes weeks, just frozen in taxi parks with absolutely zero working schedules. The sheer vastness of crossing West Africa by road was, well, it was light years away from a simple one-week road trip. Now, to survive a trip like this, you can't exactly walk up to border guards and tell them your actual plan. So Ike and his friends cooked up these alter egos. Uche became Pretty Chommy, Martins became Bull, Francis was Noff, and Ike went by Junior. Creating these new identities right off the bat really shows us that this journey was just as much about an identity crisis and this profound search for self as it was about physically moving across a map. But amidst all those fabricated identities and the sheer fear of the unknown, there was one constant. Ike recalls being a little 6-year-old boy running around and actually thinking the moon was following him. Out there on the road, that constant, guiding presence became a symbol of hope. It's like hope is that unwavering, ever-constant companion that guides migrants through the darkness and the absolute perils of the unknown. All right, moving right along to Section 2, duty, poverty, and sacrifice. What actually pushes people to migrate? So the real catalyst for Ike's departure in the 90s traces back to his childhood. As a teenager, poverty, along with his duty as the eldest son, forced him to abandon his education for the Igba Odibo. Now, this is an Igba apprenticeship system where a master is supposed to settle the apprentice with seed capital once their service is done. But after 6 grueling years, his struggling master just couldn't provide the expected funds. So with his hopes of starting a business completely dashed and the heavy weight of providing for his widowed mother on his shoulders, Ike was basically forced onto the road to Europe. But as Ike switches timelines to the present day, he notices this massive demographic shift. Back in 1997, it was incredibly rare to see a woman traveling this perilous route alone. Today, though, confronted with intense scarcity, women are independently making the incredibly dangerous decision to cross these borders, taking on menial jobs along the way just to send tiny earnings back home. And we really need to understand that this isn't just some abstract concept. We are talking about heart-wrenching maternal sacrifice. Sandra left her 11-year-old daughter behind. Laura has been away from her mother for almost 3 years, with literally no idea when they'll reunite. This level of tenacity is driven entirely by sheer, absolute desperation to lift their families out of poverty. Which brings us to Section 3, the Bamako Crossroads, otherwise known as the City of Interruptions. What's absolutely fascinating here is that both times Ike traveled this route, keep in mind 26 years apart, his path was blocked in the exact same city, Bamako, Mali. In 97, the blockade was psychological. An Igbo trader basically sat them down and laid bare the terrifying realities of human trafficking, slavery, and robbery waiting for them in the desert. Stuff they just couldn't have known before social media, right? Today, the blockade is physical, a global pandemic causing strict border closures to Mauritania. Bamako is literally the great interrupter. For Ike back in 1997, Bamako became a profound turning point. It was the exact place where he, as he puts it, switched lifetimes. Terrified by those warnings of the route ahead, Ike actually abandoned the road to Europe. Instead, he made a massive life detour to the Gambia, where he found his footing, learned resilience, and ultimately discovered his future career in filmmaking. Talk about a real sliding doors moment. Okay, moving to Section 4, the Moroccan waiting room. Let's look at what it means to be trapped in transit. Bypassing those closed borders of the present timeline, Ike flies to Morocco, finally standing right at the edge of his teenage dream. And what he finds there is a massive West African community desperately trying to recreate home. We're talking shops selling pan du yam and agusi, food joints hosting fiery debates in pidgin English. But right beneath that surface, there is a super grim reality. Many are trapped in a grueling, uncertain waiting period, literally depending on street begging to survive while they pray for a chance to cross the Mediterranean. The level of desperation here is just hard to overstate. Just listen to this. For Laura, it is better to be a beggar in Morocco than to be a hairstylist in Nigeria. That is devastating, isn't it? This agonizing transitional phase is viewed as a strictly necessary sacrifice. It's a price they're entirely willing to pay to reach their ultimate dream of a successful life in Europe. Now, you might be wondering, if it's so incredibly hard, why not just turn around and go back? Well, because going back empty-handed is simply unthinkable. These migrants have used absolutely every form of capital they have to get this far. Returning without achieving their goal carries a profound existential shame. It creates this deep identity crisis. Once you leave, the pressure to succeed forces you to keep moving forward, no matter the cost. And this brings us to Section 5, the final piece of our explainer: a continent's unfulfilled dreams and Africa's ultimate paradox. We are left with a truly tragic paradox. Africa is this vast continent that produces immense physical resources for the entire world: gas, oil, metals, alongside incredible human capital. And yet, there is a critical lack of space for its youth to actually self-actualize. It's incredibly heartbreaking that a continent so rich in physical wealth struggles so deeply to provide the very opportunities its young people desperately need to realize their potential right at home. You see, Europe is not just a spot on a map for these migrants. It represents an existential dream. Migration isn't just about moving. It is a desperate, dangerous search for a society that simply allows people the opportunity to contribute, to work, and to actually dream. So, having retraced this 26-year-old journey and having witnessed the immense, unyielding hope of today's migrants, we have to take a hard look at the societies they're leaving behind. I want to leave you with this final profound question to ponder long after this explainer ends. Does a country like Nigeria make room for the dreams of its young people today? Or is hope still mostly found on the other side of the border,